Train number 3 made this.
Yo, what is going on? It's Trey number 3 here from Number 3 Productions, back with another Dragon Ball discussion video, and I'm just going to get right to the point. Dragon Ball has no logic. As a Dragon Ball fan since 2000 or 2001, I've come to a conclusion that this just has no logic. It's just too inconsistent, and realistically, none of these a lot of stuff just don't make no sense to real world logic. Okay? I'll give y'all a prime example, right? The whole power scaling and the whole Feats thing with the whole, Goku and the rest of them are universal, they're multiversal, they're omniversal, or whatever, right? At the end of the day, Feats are inconsistent, okay? And I'm going to show you guys right now. Check this out. Here's the first reason why Dragon Ball has no logic, right? Master Roshi in OG Dragon Ball blew up the entire moon with a power level of 139. So Master Roshi in OG Dragon Ball with his power level can blow up a planet, right? Now let's compare that to Frieza. Frieza has a power level of 530,000. So if one planet could be destroyed by a power level of 139, how many planets can somebody with a power level of 530,000 do? Let's do the math real quick. Okay, there's my calculator. Okay, so we're gonna do 530,000, right? And then divide that by 139. You need this power level equals one planet. So when you have 530,000 divided by that, we'll get the answer of how many planets Frieza in his first form and the Frieza Saga could destroy. By that logic, that means that Frieza in his first form could destroy 3,812.9 planets. We just gonna round it off to 3,813 planets. How come the shockwave from the destruction of planet Vegeta didn't destroy 3,000 planets around him? Because guess what? At the end of the day, this is all a gag. So, and some of you power scalers out there want to talk about how some of these guys could destroy a galaxy. But look, according to NASA, there are at least 100 billion planets that populate the galaxy. Frieza, with a power level of 530,000, can only destroy 3,000 planets. So by that logic, this Frieza is nowhere near galaxy level. So there goes your entire power scaling logic, etc. Now we're on to point number 2. Feats are inconsistent. I'll give y'all an example, right? Goku and a concealed Beerus were able to shake the entire universe. Golden Frieza is stronger than Super Saiyan God Goku, and they didn't shake the universes. Once again, an inconsistency. I'll give y'all another one. Gogeta Super Saiyan 4 punched Omega 3 times so fast to the point where the camera couldn't even see it or pick it up. Okay, which is another amazing feat, but even that's inconsistent. Okay, now this is the big one. Broly in Dragon Ball Super has no ki control or experience compared to Goku and Vegeta, but somehow didn't accidentally destroy the planet. Okay, in Dragon Ball, the reason why planet Earth has not been destroyed is because of ki control. Broly has no ki control, and he could keep up with Super Saiyan God and Blue Goku and Vegeta as a Super Saiyan. So he should have accidentally destroyed the entire planet, and plus of other planets around him should have been destroyed. This is why logic does not work with Dragon Ball, bro. Now, onto my third point. A simple one. Another big inconsistency. Okay? During the Super Saiyan 4 transformation, Goku magically receives new clothes and a different costume compared to his child form. As much as I love this transformation, that shit makes no fucking sense. How the fuck do you fucking get new clothes out of nowhere? When Goku turned into a great ape and he reverted back to normal, all of his clothes were ripped off. So logically speaking, how come all his clothes didn't rip off? He's not like Piccolo to where he could materialize shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's another inconsistency. Now, my fourth point, the whole Canon thing, right? So a while back, right, Torotaro Torishima and Nakatsudu at Japan Expo were asked questions. And a lot of these guys took a portion of what Torotaro said and said everything is canon. No, he did not. And let me break it down to you. Let me show you real quick. Okay, here we go. Question number 14. There is a lot of debate around what's considered canon and non-canon, especially with Daima. And I'm gonna get to the whole canon and inconsistency and why that has no logic and it doesn't make sense. Okay, but before that, it says Torishima didn't understand the word canon at first. Once we explained it as event chronological, whatever the fuck that name is, he laughed when he realized what his question about. See, so Torishima didn't even understand it and don't care about it. Okay, Torishima says, as I'll just give my personal view. First of all, Toriyama was very messy. He often forgot character continuity. Second, he was always focused on what would make fans happy. So he made up stories that don't overlap. In short, there's no continuity or timeline, period. You see? So Torishima has came out and said this. This is Toriyama's long-term editor that's coming out now and saying that there's no continuity or timeline. Okay? And then we have Torotaro. Y'all just butchered his words. This is what he said. Let me zoom in real quick. This is what Torotaro said. I love almost everything in the Dragon Ball verse. For me, everything is kind of canon because I've seen it all. But it's not my role to decide what's canon. I think it's better if each fan decides what is or what isn't canon for themselves. For example, I used to play Dragon Ball Online. That's canon to me. And then Nakatsudu, one of the main art directors and animators for Dragon Ball Z and GT and Daima, he's even a part of this. He says, I'm not sure either. So Torishima told Taro Nakatsudu, don't give a fuck about this, so why are we? Back to the whole Dragon Ball doesn't have any logic thing. The whole canon thing doesn't make sense. That's why these guys don't care about it. Okay? Because think about it, bruh. Okay? I made this chart a while back about the different continuities. I don't believe they're timelines. Matter of fact, I know for a fact they're not different timelines. Timelines are the stuff are the parallel worlds that was created by Trunks time traveling. He only time traveled in Dragon Ball Z and in both the anime and manga continuity of Dragon Ball Super. He didn't make another timeline that made GT or Daima or Heroes. No, he ain't did none of that. But look, let's go over it. In my eyes, these two are the only one that's canon. Because these two were strictly written by Toriyama. Okay? Then we have Daima, and Daima was fully written by Toriyama, but it's also an anime. So that cancels it out being identified as canon. Okay? And then we have Dragon Ball Super, the manga. The manga has drafts written by Toriyama, and then Taro comes in and fills the gaps in. Canon is one author. You got two authors. So this is canceled out. Okay? Same thing with the manga. The drafts, and then Toei fills in the gaps. So it ain't just Toriyama. It's Toei. This is Toei's product. So that cancels it out being canon. Okay? Dragon Ball GT can't be canon because it's an anime. Okay? Even though Toriyama wrote the basic plot, it was stated right here in the exact same interview as when Taro talked about how what's canon is up to us. And I find it funny how they're gonna flip Taro's name, but they're not gonna mess around and talk about this. Okay, here we go. This is it. Question number 8. Mr. Taro, with Dragon Ball Super, how do you feel Dragon Ball GT? Are there elements from Dragon Ball GT that inspire you and make you want to integrate them officially? By officially, he's talking about into Dragon Ball Super. Okay, I know some of y'all will use that against it to say GT is unofficial. No, it's official because it's a licensed Dragon Ball product. Okay, let's get that out the way. And the other thing too is that they won't post this because they want to make GT look bad. There is a certain narrative that the Dragon Ball community wants to push. That's why they're not going to put this sort of stuff. You come to my channel, I'm going to put everything. So, but back to this. He said, I don't work on Dragon Ball GT, so I can't say much. GT came right after Dragon Ball. He's talking about the manga. Ended. Many parties, TV networks, Bandai Namco's, and partners depended on Dragon Ball. And if it didn't continue, we risked economic trouble. That's another thing too about Dragon Ball, and that's why they can't let this shit go. You know what I'm saying? And it sucks. Like it genuinely does suck because you got all this weight on one man. The easiest solution would have been to ask Toriyama to keep going, but he had just finished and was done. The only thing we could ask was for him to design the characters and create a basic plot. Then we handed it off to a team and said, here, do your best. So Toriyama did write for Dragon Ball GT. He wrote the basic plot, just like with every arc in Dragon Ball Super. Toriyama writes the basic plots, the drafts, and then they go from there. The difference is that Toei did the rest himself, but he still provided that. So all you guys that want to talk about GT wasn't written by Toriyama, but Super was, no. Because he wrote some of this shit too. I just had to put that out there. But yeah, the rest of them just cancel out it being canon. You know, the anime Dragon Ball Z is non-canon because it's produced by Toei and it's an anime. Same thing with Kai. There is no way that Dragon Ball Daima could fit with the Dragon Ball Super anime or manga. There's just no way. And Dragon Ball Super, the anime or the manga, cannot fit with the end of Dragon Ball Z. It cannot fit with this chapter. I don't know why y'all trying to force this to work. Unless they reboot Dragon Ball Super, which we're getting a remake in a few months after this recording, which is bullshit. So yeah. And just like Torishima was saying earlier, Toriyama's always been messy and inconsistent, and it doesn't matter. So if it doesn't matter to the staff, why does it matter to us? We tripping off of shit that these guys don't even care about. I get it. We're all passionate about Dragon Ball, but it's clear as day that this shit does not matter anymore. What's canon is up to us. There are some things in Dragon Ball that's up to us to decide. For example, who's stronger, Super Saiyan 4 or Super Saiyan Blue / Super Saiyan God? We will never know because there's no statement on who's stronger. What's better, Dragon Ball GT or Dragon Ball Super? It's up to us to decide. Or which series has the stronger characters, GT or Super? GT takes place later on after Dragon Ball Z, but Super has, the crazy power scale. So it's up to us. In the end of Dragon Ball GT, when Goku ate the 4-star Dragon Ball as a Super Saiyan 4, and then Omega Shenron hit him with that minus negative energy attack, and then Goku rose up from the fucking dead with that giant spirit bomb, okay? That end of GT Goku couldn't be phased by none of Omega Shenron's attacks, because we know Omega Shenron is light years stronger than him, okay? His ki couldn't be sensed when he went to visit Master Roshi and Piccolo, right? He could disappear and appear out of nowhere without instant transmission, because if y'all remember in GT when Goku was a kid, he can't use instant transmission. So yeah, that's not bad writing. And then the other thing too is that he can make wishes. In Dragon Ball GT, A Hero's Legacy, Goku Jr. found one Dragon Ball, the 4-star. Goku appears, touches it, and then all of a sudden Pan, who supposedly died, and then Puck, who died in that movie, one of Goku Jr.'s friends, came back to life, and then Goku just disappeared. Okay, so we know for a fact that Goku is not immortal anymore. we know that he's one with the dragon. We know that his spirit is connected to Shenron, okay? And we know that he can't take no damage. We know he can't be phased. However, what Goku became and where he was headed, it's up to us to decide and go off of what we know. We'll never agree on what happened to Goku after Z. And us fans are never gonna agree on a fan theory. Okay? It's as simple as that. But there is one thing that every Dragon Ball fan can agree on. And that is Dragon Ball Evolution being garbage. I'm pretty sure, matter of fact, fuck that show. I know for a fact we could all sit here and agree that this shit was terrible. This is worse than anything. Which is why that I'm going to end up fixing it up and remaking it for a future Sparking movie. Simple as that. So I went over my 4 points of why Dragon Ball has no logic. And I made my point. Wait. Hold on. Another thing. I'm not going back and forth with nobody in the comment section. If you think I'm about to argue with you back and forth, then no, don't even try, bro. This is what happens when you do research like how I do. The grind never stops. It's as simple as that. Make sure you go check out my website at www.number3productions.com. I have comics, one-shots, podcast videos, artwork, graphic design, music, anime videos, and much more content. The grind never stops. It's very simple.